Krishna.
Jai.
Okay, so I'll share the screen. Um, from Sri Jaidev Goswami, chanting the Sri Dash Avatar Stotra. Vittara Shurane Dipati Kamani Dasamukkamole Balim Ramaniyam Kesavadrita Rahama Sharira Jai Jagadi Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare Vittarasi Purane Ikamani Dasamani Ramani Kesavadrita Rahama Sharira Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare Vittarasi Dikshurane Dikpatikamaniyam Dasamukkamole Balim Ramaniyam Kesavadrita Rahama Sharira Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Jaidev Goswami wrote the Dash Avatar prayers from the Gita Govinda. And the seventh one is in honor of Lord Ramacandra, whose appearance day is coming up on the 10th. I know it's still a few days away, but I just thought in order to get through the whole pastime, and there's actually 2 chapters in the Bhagavatam on Lord Ramachandra, it might be good to get started early. And then there's also Srila Prabhupada giving an address on Ram Navami Day as well that we could also read if we run out of things to read. So the translation for this is, O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of Ramachandra, all glories to you. In the battle of Lanka, you destroy the 10-headed demon Ravan and distribute his heads as a delightful offering to the presiding deities of the 10 directions, headed by Indra. This action was long desired by all of them, who were much harassed by this monster. In our Toronto temple, I don't know if it's still hanging there. I think in the boutique at least. It's a bronze or metal sculpting, but it's done out of metal of Ravana and his 10 heads. It's quite, what would be the right word then, the Patni? Fearsome or fearful or both?
Intimidating? I don't know.
What's the difference between fearsome and fearful?
Oh, fearsome
Yeah.
refers to, to Ravan. Fearful means another person is full of fear.
Right. But fearsome meaning that he's intimidating, correct?
Yes.
Right. I thought so. Okay.
Actually, in a local ashram here, just to show you what Santa Cruz has been like, there's a person called Baba Haridas, and he came from South India, and he had a huge following here in Santa Cruz. My son went to his school, and every year all the students, all 200 of them from kindergarten through to high school, they did the Ramayana every year. And many, many, many people in Santa Cruz went to see this Ramayana because they had absolutely fabulous. Saraswati would come in on a swan, and all the kindergarten children with the monkeys, and the senior high school students would divvy up to do, Lakshman Ram and whatnot. I mean, it was a fantastic production. They've done it, for about 30 years, actually.
At the Chaitanya Saraswat?
No, it's called Mount Madonna. The school is called Mount Madonna. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's quite a famous school. I mean, kids go to Yale and Harvard from there.
I see. It sounds like a Catholic school.
No, they're all devotees of Baba Haridas.
I see.
Yeah. And he actually took Monavrat, so he didn't actually speak. He used a chalkboard the whole time, So they used to, I'm just saying this because they used to do the Ramayana, and they used to do every year, and they would do about six performances.
The same performance 6 times over.
Yes, and many, many people in this county where I live have seen the Ramayana because they did it to such a high level that people were, I mean, even if they didn't know anything about India, they would go and see this Ramayana.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Gradually Vedic culture working its way, Vaishnav culture working its way, American culture. Daneshwar Prabhu, you'd like to say something?
Yeah. A ashram in Northern California near Gaura. I forget exactly what that town is. But it's a whole ashram dedicated to Ramacandra. And I stopped there one time to check it out, and it was really devotional. I don't remember who the guru was, but they have some very nice recordings of Ramalila, Kirtan, and Ram Kirtan. Anyway, any of you heard of that place? Or?
Well, you're not talking about Santa Cruz Mountains, are you, Prabhu?
Yeah, I'm not really familiar with that area too much, but it could be around there. Yeah.
Yes, you might be talking about the same place. I mean, they did kirtan. It was an ashram, and they had an educational institution.
Who's the guru there?
Baba Haridas was his name. He's left the planet now.
Okay.
But for 30 years, they popularized the Ramayana, and they made it enchanting because they had every grade of child engage in acting in the Ramayana. every single year of their life. So as long as you went to that school, you would progress from being a monkey to a, whatever in the Leela. And they taught all the children the stick dances and bows and arrows and the whole 9 yards. Yeah.
That reminds me of two things. At one point, Bhakti Swami could no longer be in charge of the Sunday school. So he asked if I could take it over because he was now becoming the president of the temple. So all of a sudden, I found myself with 40 kids, aged 5 to 15. And I could not understand how to keep the minds of 5-year-old to 15-year-olds all occupied at the same time. So what I devised was I took two of the Indian ladies that love kids, because from what I can see, most Vaishnavis, most ladies, they love children. And I got one lady to take charge of the tiny tots, the little boys and little girls. And I asked another Indian lady to take charge of the older girls. And I took charge of the older boys. And so I would do little dramas with them. Govardhan Hill, I remember we put that one on. And maybe we did some I can't remember now. It was the 80s. Anyhow, what parents were telling me is this. They would come to me after their child had put on the play in commemoration of that special utsava, mahotsava, that special function. And they would say things to me like, Gaura Prabhu, I'm ashamed to admit it, but sometimes after a week of work, I don't feel like going to the temple. But you did something to my child. He or she is this. It was he, because I was just dealing with the boys. He's saying to me, Pita, you have to take me to the temple this week. It's our last rehearsal before the festival. We still have to practice up, And he said, you've got my son dragging me to the temple. So, good work. And I realized, even McDonald's, I'm sorry to mention them, but, there's a psychology. If somehow or other you can interest the children, then you've got the parents. I figured it out. So similarly, as you were describing the children at Mount Madonna, did you call it? Yeah, it becomes a whole like yearly ritual for them, right? Putting on this drama involving all the kids, and then they get different roles as the years go by. It's a whole absorption. So yeah, if the children are the precious treasure of the grahastas, and so naturally, if you care for their children, then the congregation appreciates it a lot. It really builds community. Did you want to say something on that, Dineshwar Prabhu, or should we start on the reading?
No, I'm finished. Thank you.
Not anything from you, Nandapatni?
No, not really, other than, the many, let's say, lay people in this county, average citizen, they have seen the Ramayana many times because of this school and this lavish production.
Yeah, and what you and Dineshwar Prabhu have said to me impresses on me even more that it's, even though we talk a lot about Krishna Leela, Chaitanya Leela, Ram Leela seems to be, pardon me for saying, but more universal in the sense that even non-devotees, they may know Ramayana, they may know something of Ram Leela. So I think it's valuable for us to know it, because it's another way to connect in disseminating Krishna consciousness. That thought came to me.
Mm-hmm.
When I read Ramayana, I fell in love with Ramacandra much more than I ever felt love for Lord Krishna.
Wow.
Reading about Krishna, it was, it's such a wonderful person, in every way, and it was totally captured my heart. I was feeling a little guilty. I thought, well, wait a minute, am I supposed to be a devotee of Krishna? But yeah, I'm falling in love with Ramacandra.
Well, no loss there. Krishna Chandra, did you have anything to say? Ananda Dev, anything before we start to read?
Nothing yet, but thank you for asking.
Ananda Dev seems to be in Samadhi right now. Okay. So,
All right. And if,
Hare Krishna.
uh, the stuff that y'all just, what is it, the Dashavada? Y'all just sang that, or
Very hard to understand what you're saying. It's all going in and out. Kind of a blur.
I came in a bit late. Did y'all sing that, the Dashavada?
Yeah, I sang it 10 minutes, 15 minutes ago. Yeah. Okay, we'll start reading. Krishna Chandra Prabhu, Chapter 10, The Pastimes of the Supreme Lord Ramachandra.
Thank you, Prabhu. This 10th chapter describes how Lord Ramachandra appeared in the dynasty of Maharaj Katvanga. It also describes the Lord's activity, telling how he killed Ravana and returned to Ayodhya, the capital of his kingdom. The son of Maharaj Katvanga was Dirgabahu, and his son was Raghu. The son of Raghu was Aja. The son of Aja was Dasharath, and the son of Dasharath was Lord Ramachandra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When the Lord descended into this world in his full quadruple expansion as Lord Ramachandra, Lakshman, Bharat, and Shatrugna, the great sages like Valmiki, who were actually in knowledge of the absolute truth, described his transcendental pastimes. Srila Shukadev Goswami describes these pastimes in brief.
Daneshwar Prabhu.
Lord Ramachandra went with Vishamrita and killed Rakshasas like Maricha. After breaking the stout and strong bow known as Haradanu, Lord married Mother Sita and cut down the prestige of Parashuram. To obey the order of his father, he entered the forest accompanied by Lakshman and Sita. There he cut off the nose of Suparnika and killed the associates of Ravana, headed by Kara and Dushana. Ravana's kidnapping of Sita Devi was the beginning of this demon's misfortune. When Maricha assumed the form of a golden deer, Lord Ramachandra went to bring the deer to please Sita Devi. And in the meantime, Ravana took advantage of the Lord's absence to kidnap her. When Sita Devi was kidnapped, Lord Ramachandra, accompanied by Lakshman, searched for her throughout the forest. In the course of this search, they met Chitayu. Then the Lord killed the demon Kambanda and the commander Bali and established a friendly relationship with Sugriva. Wasn't Bali one of the monkeys on Ramachandra's side?
I forget exactly the nuances of that.
Okay, anyway, I thought that was the case, but that's why I'm wondering. After organizing the military strength of the monkeys and going with them to the shore of the sea, the Lord awaited the arrival of Samudra, the ocean personified. But when Samudra did not come, Lord, master of Samudra, the ocean personified, the master of Samudra became angry. Then Samudra came to the Lord with great haste and surrendered to him, wanting to help him in every way. Lord then attempted to bridge the ocean with the help of advice from Vibhishana. Shouldn't say attempted, it should say he did. Anyway, with the advice from Vibhishana, he attacked Ravana's capital Lanka. Previously, Hanuman, the eternal servant of the Lord, had set fire to Lanka. Now, with the help of Lakshman, the forces of Lord Ramachandra killed all of the Rakshasa soldiers. Then Lord Ramachandra personally killed Ravana. Mandodari, and other wives lamented for Ravana, and in accordance with Lord Ramachandra's order, Vibhishana performed the funeral ceremonies for all the dead in the family. Lord Ramachandra then gave Vibhishana the right to rule Lanka, actually for a very long time. So I remember one kalpa, and also granted him a very long duration of life. Yeah. The Lord delivered Sita Devi from the Ashoka forest and carried her in a flower airplane to his capital, Ayodhya, where he was received by his brother Bharat. When Lord Ramachandra entered Ayodhya, Bharat brought his wooden shoes. Bhishana and Sugriva held a whisk and fan. Hanuman carried an umbrella. Shatrughna carried the Lord's bow and 2 quivers, and Sita Devi carried a water pot containing water from the holy places. Angada carried a sword, and Jambavan, Riksharaj, carried a shield. After Lord Ramachandra, accompanied by Lord Lakshman and Mother Sita Devi, met all his relatives, great sage Vasishtha enthroned him as king. The chapter ends with a short description of Lord Ramachandra's rule in Ayodhya.
Thank you. Nandapatni, would you like to read 2 verses, please?
Okay, Shukadev Goswami said,
Well, hold on. Ganeshwar Prabhu, could you just mute yourself? Because all kinds of slashing sounds comes out of your your microphone. I don't know what it is. Yeah, please.
okay, Shukadev Goswami said, the son of Maharaj Katvanga was Dirgabahu, and his son was the celebrated Maharaj Raghu. From Maharaj Raghu came Aja, and from Aja was born the great personality, Maharaj Dasarath. Being prayed for by the demigods, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth himself, directly appeared with his expansion and expansions of the expansion. Their holy names were Rama, Lakshman, Bharat, and Satrughna. These celebrated incarnations thus appeared in 4 forms as the sons of Maharaj Dasarath. Purport. Lord Ramachandra and his brothers, Lakshman, Bharata, Shatrughna, Lord Ramachandra and his brothers, Lakshman, Bharata, and Satrughna, are all Vishnu Tattva, not Jiva Tattva. The Supreme Personality of Godhead expands himself into many, many forms, Advaitam, Achyutam, Anadim, Anantarupam. And although they are one and the same, Vishnu Tattva has many forms and incarnations. As confirmed in the Brahma Samhita, Ramadi Murtishu Kalaniyamena Tishtam, the Lord is situated in many forms, such as Ram, Lakshman, Bharata, and Shatrughna. And these forms may exist in any part of his creation. All these forms exist permanently, eternally, as individual personalities of Godhead, and they resemble many candles, all equally powerful. Lord Ramachandra, Lakshman, Bharata, and Shatrughna, who, being Vishnu Tattva, are all equally powerful, became the sons of Maharaj Dasarath in response to prayers by the demigods.
Any comments from you on what you just read?
It's just so beautiful. It's so captivating. Yeah, that's all I can say. I like the emphasis that they're all equal. Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah.
Daneshwar Prabhu, do you have something to say? You're muted, Prabhu. I'm sorry.
No, Prabhu, thank you.
Okay, yeah, one thought that came to me is that, Lord Ramachandra appeared something like close to 2 million years ago, I believe, if that's the correct timeline, 1,800,000, something like that. And so some people may be mistaken to think that Lord Ramachandra is actually the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, but we see from the Brahma Samhita verse that Nanda Patni just read that actually Lord Krishna is the source of Lord Ram and all other Vishnu incarnations. Just thought I'd throw that out there. Not that I want to discourage any Ram Bhaktas. Ananda Dev Prabhu. Who was it? Was it Lord Chaitanya that met Murari Gupta and he was trying to transform him to a Krishna Bhakta? But because he was like an incarnation of Hanuman, he could not give up his love for Lord Ram, for Krishna.
Yes, that's right.
Something like that.
Who was that?
Murari Gupta.
Murari Gupta.
Hanuman, and he's an Ayurvedic physician as well.
And then, of course, there are these sages in the Ram Leela who become in Gopi Ras.
Yeah, they wanted a conjugal relationship.
Yeah.
Lord Ram, but that wasn't possible in that
life. Yeah.
Ananda Dev, would you like to read 2 verses, please?
Text 3. Tasyanucharitam rasan ऋषिभिस्तत्त्वदर्शिभिः श्रुतं हि वर्णितं भूरि त्वया सीता patermuhu. O King Parikshit, the transcendental activities of Lord Ramachandra have been described by great saintly persons who have seen the truth. Because you have heard again and again about Lord Ramachandra, the husband of Mother Sita, I shall describe these activities only in brief. Please listen. Modern Rakshasas, posing as educationally advanced merely because they have doctorates, have tried to prove that Lord Ramachandra is not the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but an ordinary person. But those who are learned and spiritually advanced will never accept such notions. They will accept the descriptions of Lord Ramachandra and his activities only as presented by Tattvadarshis, those who know the absolute truth. In Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Personality of Godhead advises, Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprasnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnanena tattvadarshinaha. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you, as he has seen the truth. Unless one is tattvadarshi, in complete knowledge of the absolute truth, one cannot describe the activities of the personality of Godhead. Therefore, although there are many so-called Ramayanas or histories of Lord Ramachandra's activities, some of them are not actually authoritative. Sometimes Lord Ramachandra's activities are described in terms of one's own imagination, speculations, or material sentiments. But the characteristics of Lord Ramachandra could not be handled as something imaginary. While describing the history of Lord Ramachandra, Shukadev Goswami told Maharaj Parikshit, "You have already heard about the activities of Lord Ramachandra. Apparently, therefore, 5,000 years ago, there were many Ramayanas or histories of Lord Ramachandra's activities, and there are many still. But we must select only those books written by Tattvadarshis, Jnaninas Tattvadarshinaha, not the books of so-called scholars who claim knowledge only on the basis of a doctorate." This is a warning by Shukadev Goswami. Rishibhis Tattvadarshibhi. Although the Ramayana composed by Valmiki is a huge literature, The same activities are summarized here by Shukadev Goswami in a few verses.
Any thoughts from you on that, Ananda Dave?
It just kind of reinforces the fact that in order to transmit bhakti, you have to have bhakti in the heart, emanating from the heart. It's not
Mhm.
just information that is given in words, but the vibration that is also comes along, that mood of love and devotion that it comes along with
Yes.
sound transmission.
Dineshwar Prabhu, Nanda Patni, anything from you?
No comment.
No, that's fine.
Okay. That was only okay. Did you want to read another, or was that good for you, Ananda Dave?
I'll read another.
Okay. There's a big one. Go for it.
Next four.
Would you mind just reading the English, just so we can get through more? Please. To keep the promise of his father intact.
Sure. I'm pretty enthusiastic about Sanskrit, but I'll follow whatever you guys desire.
Yeah, I just want to keep moving the storyline along.
The promise of his father intact, Lord Ramachandra immediately gave up the position of king and, accompanied by his wife, Mother Sita, wandered from one forest to another on his lotus feet, which were so delicate that they were unable to bear even the touch of Sita's palms. Lord was also accompanied by Hanuman, or by another monkey, Sugriva, king of the monkeys, and by his own younger brother, Lord Lakshman, both of whom gave him relief from the fatigue of wandering in the forest. Having cut out the nose and ears of Shurpanaka, thus disfiguring her, the Lord was separated from Mother Sita. He therefore became angry, moving his eyebrows and thus frightening the ocean, who then allowed the Lord to construct a bridge to cross the ocean. And subsequently, the Lord entered the kingdom of Ravana to kill him, like a fire devouring a forest. May that Supreme Lord Ramachandra give us all protection.
Okay. Any comments from anybody on that, please?
Nope.
Surpanaka was hitting on Lord Ramachandra first, and then Lord Ramachandra said, actually, didn't he say, actually, my brother's more qualified than I am? Something like that.
Yes.
And then when she was making advances, was it Ramachandra, or was it Lakshman that chopped off her, cut her nose?
Yeah,
It was Ramchandra.
I think it's Ram. Yeah.
Huh?
And it's one of the big controversies of Ramayana. How
Ah.
do this? Yeah.
And what is that controversy that Ram should not have been so cruel? Hello, Tanishwar, are you there? Your connection
Yes.
sounds pretty.
Yes, but my connection is weak, as you know.
Yeah.
Yes, because Ram should not have been so cruel.
Uh-huh. So that's an example of how the scholars, because they're not bhaktas, they would be critical of Lord Ram.
Well, you know, I'm I don't quite understand it myself, to be honest.
Mhm. Yeah, they must be very confused because how can Lord Ramachandra do the amazing feats that he did and be an ordinary mortal? They don't understand the absolute nature of the Lord, that Lord Ramachandra is kissing or his slicing off your nose is equally absolute.
Wasn't the idea that she was actually, you know, Rakshasi?
Aha. Cannibal. Female cannibal.
Wasn't that the thing?
Well, yes, she was, but Bhima, he cohabited with the Rakshasi also. So, of course, Ramachandra is famous simply for having one wife. That would, you know, so that's an important thing.
Mm.
But you know, why to disfigure her is a question. Maybe it was simply to antagonize Ravana.
Yeah, probably. Wasn't she the sister?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a pretty
Yeah,
good.
it was probably part of the Leela in that regard,
Oh, yeah.
upping the ante.
Okay. Where are we? May he give us all protection. All right. I'll share the screen here. Okay. In the arena of the sacrifice performed by Vishvamrita, Lord Ramachandra, the king of Ayodhya, killed many demons, rakshasas, and uncivilized men who wandered at night in the mode of darkness. May Lord Ramachandra, who killed these demons in the presence of Lakshman, be kind enough to give us protection. These are beautiful prayers because as we're recollecting the Nitya Leela of Lord Ramachandra, we're simultaneously beseeching him for his protection. And so then the next verse is 6 and 7. O king, the pastimes of Lord Ramachandra were wonderful, like those of a baby elephant. In the assembly where Mother Sita was to choose her husband, in the midst of the heroes of this world, he broke the bow belonging to Lord Shiva. This bow was so heavy that it was carried by 300 men. But Lord Ramachandra bent and strung it and broke it in the middle, just as a baby elephant breaks a stick of sugar cane. Thus the Lord achieved the hand of Mother Sita, who was equally as endowed with transcendental qualities of form, beauty, behavior, age, and nature. Indeed, she was the goddess of fortune who constantly rests on the chest of the Lord. While returning from Sita's home after gaining her at the assembly of competitors, Lord Ramachandra met Parashuram. Although Parashuram was very proud, having rid the earth of the royal order 21 times, he was defeated by the Lord, who appeared to be a Kshatriya of the royal order. This pastime always challenged me because you have one incarnation of the Lord challenging another incarnation of the Lord. I'm not sure if there's any other pastime like Lord Ramachandra defeating Lord Parashuram.
Parshuram is a what's it called? Shaktivesh avatar. That
Okay,
is, he's empowered for a specific purpose.
right?
Ramchandra is the supreme personality of God in himself.
Okay, interesting point. Thank you. Krishna Chandra Prabhu text. Oh no, I guess I do two of them, don't I? Or did I do two? I think I only did one. No, I did two. Okay, Krishna Chandra Prabhu text 8.
Thank you, Prabhu. Carrying out the order of his father, who was bound by a promise to his wife, Lord Ramachandra left behind his kingdom, opulence, friends, well-wishers, residence, and everything else, just as a liberated soul gives up his life, and went to the forest with Sita. Maharaj Dasharath had 3 wives. One of them, Kaikeyi, served him very pleasingly, and he therefore wanted to give her a benediction. Kaikeyi, however, said that she would ask for the benediction when it was necessary. At the time of the coronation of Prince Ramachandra, Kaikeyi requested her husband to enthrone her son Bharat and send Ramachandra to the forest. Maharaj Dasharatha, being bound by his promise, ordered Ramachandra to go to the forest, according to the dictation of his beloved. And the Lord, as an obedient son, accepted the order immediately. He left everything without hesitation, just as a liberated soul or great yogi gives up his life without material attraction.
I'd just like to make a comment. Whenever I hear this part of the pastime, I think about the danger of bad association, because here's Kaikeyi, and what was her name? Mantara, I think, maidservant, and she, takes Kaikeyi into confidence, like, tomorrow's coronation day, and your son Bharat, he actually deserves. And don't forget, you have a couple of boons coming to you from Dasharat. I remember in the Ramachandra appearance day lecture by Prabhupada, he mentions that Dasharat Maharaj had a condition called Whitlow, Whitlow. If you want to look that up, Christian Chandra, I'd appreciate it to remember. I've looked at it before, I forget.
Whitlow?
Yeah. Do you know?
Whitlow is, I might be completely off here, but a whitlow is actually like a sty in your eye.
A sty in the eye.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I might be it might be a completely different reference.
It is a very painful and infectious viral disease of the thumb and fingertips.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. Yes. Yeah.
So he couldn't drive the chariot, and Prabhupada said that Kaikeyi took charge of the chariot and drove it to safety. Which is interesting to see that, a Kshatriya, the wife of a Kshatriya, she takes on the qualities of her husband. So, she took up that role to take charge of the chariot and drove them to safety. But when offered her chance to kind of cash in on her boon, instead of asking something auspicious, she asked that Ramachandra get banished to the forest for, is it 14 years, I think? And that her own son be in charge. And even Bharat didn't like the idea, right? He kept the shoes of Ramachandra on his head. He kind of felt pretty uncomfortable about being the king.
Was rather than take the throne himself, he only ate barley cooked in cow or soaked in cow urine for the entire time that Ramchandra was away.
For all 14 years.
Yes.
Wow. That's quite an austere diet. Barley soaked in cow urine. Yum. Wow. That's what you call royal? Pardon me?
Yeah, of course. Nobody wanted Ramchandra to leave. All the citizens, everybody was brokenhearted.
Right. Very dramatic.
Particularly the Lord's brothers and Shatrughna. He didn't go, but Bharat went along with the Lord to serve him.
He went along with him. I thought he stayed back in the kingdom. Lakshman went. Okay, I have one more verse. While wandering in the forest, where he accepted a life of hardship, carrying his invincible bow and arrows in his hand, Lord Ramachandra deformed Ravan's sister, who was polluted with lustful desires, by cutting off her nose and ears. Woo! He also that's a real test of Lord Ramachandra if you actually believe that he's the supreme personality of Godhead. The non that's where that polarizes the non devotees from the devotees. Do they believe that Lord Ram's the Lord, the supreme Lord, to do that? He also killed her 14,000 Rakshasa friends, headed by Kara, Trishira, and Dushan. Wow. Um, so, Krishna Chandra, you didn't read yet, did you?
I feel like I did recently. I'm always happy to read it. I think that was recent.
Oh, then it must be Daneshwar Prabhu.
Yes. Remember, I was encouraging you to write it down on a piece of paper.
Yes, I know, but I'm peeling apples right now.
The translation. O King Pariksit, when Ravana, who had 10 heads on his shoulders, heard about the beautiful and attractive features of Sita Devi, his mind was agitated by lusty desires, and he went to kidnap her. To distract Lord Ramachandra from his ashram, Ravana sent Maricha in the form of a golden deer. And when Lord Ramachandra saw that wonderful deer, he left his residence and followed it finally killed it with a sharp arrow, just as Lord Shiva killed Daksha.
I just wanted to ask Nanda Patni, do you remember that album that came out of England, Nanda Patni, called The Adventures of King Ram? And there's one song on there called Golden Deer.
No, I don't know that.
Opera. It was like in the mood of Tommy and Jesus Christ Superstore, but it was called The Adventures of Prince Ram.
No, I don't know that.
Daneshwar, you may remember. Really? Wow. that album has Prahlad Das, Patrick Bernard, and many devotees from the British Yatra on it. All star. Wonderful. Songs are great. Maybe Shakshi Gopal has it. Sorry.
Should be
What?
around.
Huh?
It should be around still. Many devotees have saved things from that time.
I've got a copy of it on one of my computers. Okay, another verse for you, Prabhu.
Also absent. Worst of the Rakshasas, Ravana kidnapped Sita Devi, daughter of King Videha, just as the tiger seizes unprotected sheep when the shepherd is absent. Then Lord Ramachandra wandered in the forest with his brother Lakshman and said very much distressed due to separation from his wife. He thus showed by his personal example the condition of a person attached to women. In this verse, the words Stri Sanginam, Gatim Iti indicate the condition of a person attached to women shown by the Lord himself. According to it, oral instructions, Vihe Narim Varjayit. When one goes on a tour, one should not bring his wife. Formerly, men used to travel without conveyances. Still, as far as possible, when one leaves home, one should not take his wife with him, especially if one is in such a condition as Lord Ramachandra, and banished by the order of his father. Whether in the forest or at home, if one is attached to women, this attachment is always troublesome, as shown by the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his personal example. Of course, this is the material side of Sri Sangi. But the situation of Lord Ramachandra is spiritual, for he does not belong to the material world. Narayana Paro Gat. Narayan is beyond the material creation. Because he is the creator of the material world, he is not subject to the conditions of the material world. The separation of Lord Ramachandra from Sita is spiritually understood as Kripalamba, which is an activity of the Ladini potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead belonging to the Shringara Ras, mellow of conjugal love in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, Supreme Personality of Godhead has all the dealings of love, displaying the symptoms called Sattvika, Sanchari, Vilapa, Pilapa, Murcha, and Unmada. Thus, when Lord Ramachandra was separated from Sita, all these spiritual symptoms were manifest. The Lord is neither impersonal nor impotent. Rather, he is Satchidananda Vigraha, eternal form of the knowledge and bliss. Thus, he has all of the symptoms of spiritual bliss. Feeling separation from one's beloved is also an item of spiritual bliss, as explained by Srila Swarup Damodar Goswami, Radha Krishna Panaya Pritir Ladini Shakti. The dealings of love between Radha and Krishna are displayed as the pleasure potency of the Lord. The Lord is the original source of all pleasure, the reservoir of all pleasure. Lord Ramachandra therefore manifested the truth both spiritually and materially. Materially, those who are attached to women suffer. Spiritually, when there are feelings of separation between the Lord and his pleasure potency, the spiritual bliss of the Lord increases. This is explained further in the Bhagavad Gita 9:11. Vajanati mamudha manusim tanam ashritam param bhava ajanato mabhuta maheshwaram. Who does not know the spiritual potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead thinks of the Lord as an ordinary human being. The Lord's mind, intelligence, and senses can never be affected by material conditions. This fact is further explained in the Skanda Purana, as quoted by Madhacharya. Scroll, please. I won't read all that. It is actually impossible for Ravana to take away Sita. Form of Sita was taken by Ravana was an illusory representation of Mother Sita, Maya Sita. When Sita was tested in the fire, this Maya Sita was burnt and the real Sita came out of the fire. A further understanding to be derived from this example is that a woman, however powerful she may be in the material world, must be given protection, for as soon as she is unprotected, she will be exploited by Rakshasas like Ravana. Here, the words Vaideha Raja Duhitari indicate that before Mother Sita was married to Lord Ramachandra, she was protected by her father, Vaideha Raj. And when she was married, she was protected by her husband. Therefore, the conclusion is that a woman should always be protected. According to the Vedic rule, there is no scope for a woman's being independent. Asam aksham, for a woman not protect herself independently.
What do you think of that purport, Nandapatni?
Well, it reminds me of how that was kind of inappropriately used on me years ago when I was running a preaching center with two other women. And the then temple president, who will remain nameless, when we were becoming, quite successful, running Sunday feasts and having tons of students coming, he came and closed down the project.
What?
Citing, women should never be independent, etc., etc. So I have a kind of bit of a sour taste on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Because the understanding is that, if you're preaching, then and you're Krishna conscious, you're actually kind of in a way beyond the designations. Yeah.
I don't know what it is with Dinesh Prabhu's. There's always this. Is it just me that's hearing all kinds of sounds coming out from him, or is it others?
I hear
think
it
there's a bit of feedback there. Yeah.
Anyway, Dinesh Prabhu, you just finished reading the verse. What jumped out for you?
What I was thinking is these are some of the slokas that let's say those who are influenced by modern society want to edit in Prabhupada's books.
Ah,
I'm speculating about that, of course, but unfortunately, that's the case. And why? Because
wow.
modern society is completely and totally artificial due to the use of money. When we remove money from use, everything becomes natural again. And there, everybody follows, the natural order of things. In such a situation, then women cannot be equal to men the way they can in an artificial society like today. So today, a woman has money, she can do the same things as a man can do. It's not her potency, it's the significance of the money and how it's used in society.
Mm-hmm.
When that money is gone, that woman will be completely defenseless and at the easily taken advantage of or abused by unscrupulous men. And therefore, all of these things that we're reading about the protection of women, they're referring to a time when there was no artificial way of life as created by the demons. Demons want to create this artificial way of life for unlimited sense gratification. So we have to understand these things in the proper context. And that context is a natural order of life without money where women cannot be equal to men. And so anyway, that's my comment.
Thank you. Rasangi, do you have a comment to make on that? Or Prairie, do you have a question on that or a comment? Thank you, Danishra. It makes a lot of sense. If you have money, you can do a lot of things artificially, can't you?
I was hearing Shamarani give a class the other day,
Yes.
and that came up.
Okay, wait a minute.
What?
You're interrupting in here. Thank you for coming, both, everyone. Go ahead, Rasangi. It's quiet now.
Okay, Shamarani addressed this the other day, and she said it means protection from exploitation. It doesn't mean controlling. It never meant controlling. And it's not that women were always given opportunity to use their talents and skills in Krishna's service with Prabhupada. He always wanted them to fulfill their destiny and their expertise. So it's like, yeah, but you're right. We get exploited unfairly by, low-class men. And then we end up in trouble and not happy. But it means protection from exploitation and help to facilitate our talents and skills. Why not, right?
And in conjunction with the husband, normally. As Prabhupada said, all women should be married.
Or the sons, or your sons, or your father. There's always some protection.
Right.
I completely agree with that. I was gonna say something along those lines, but you essentially summed that up for me, Rasangi. So I was gonna say something like that women need protection, especially when they are mothers. And in the beginning of that, there needs to be a protection of that nurturing relationship that women have so that they can focus on being the best mothers of raising, future devotees. And we need help with that. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Prairie. Baba Trini, were you able to catch some of what Daneshwar Prabhu was reading, or you just came a little late?
We just came.
Okay. Yeah, Daneshwar Prabhu, could you just make that point? Could you just summarize the point that you just read, please?
That I read or that I said?
Well, you elaborated on what was read.
Okay, which you want me to repeat?
Okay. How do I shut this off here? I'm just going to try. I'm trying to go back to what you just read, just to refresh memory here. Prabhupada was saying that actually Ravana was not able to steal Sita.
Yeah.
Maya Sita,
Okay.
and that the point that was being made is that women should always be given protection, otherwise she'll be exploited by Rakshasas. And then Prabhupada concludes that a woman should always be protected according to the Vedic rule. So there's no scope for a woman being independent. For a woman cannot protect herself independently. And Daneshwar Prabhu's point is because we're living in a society with money today, then women can have a false sense of independence. They can do anything and everything as much or more than a man. But in a Vedic society that's not based artificially on dollars, then a woman is naturally under the care of her husband, son, and father. So, did you have anything to add to that, Bavatrini, before we move on?
Can I add something?
Yeah, Dinesh. Yes.
Yeah, in regard to what Rasangi says, yes, of course, women are always given the opportunity, like everybody else, to engage according to their nature. And if we read in Mahabharata, for example, that Draupadi, she was the queen of the royal household, which, here's an example of the kind of numbers we read there. The royal household had 100,000 servants or employees, whatever you want to call them. In other words, she's a princess, and the same thing with Sita. These women, these are daughters of kings, and they have the nature of a king.
Right.
The daughter takes on more the nature of the father, and the son the nature of the mother. So these Kshatriya women, they're very capable persons, and when you talk about Kaikeyi, driving the chariot, this is, almost quite natural for such a woman. So the women did have opportunity to engage according to their nature. And of course, all women, by their nature, have children, and this is, this is their natural, their nature to give birth and to raise children. And of course, as the other lady said, this is required. This is a time when they require great protection.
Hey, text.
Can I make a comment there too? Is that unfortunately, I remember seeing, it was probably a year or two ago, and it was a very, very fierce challenge from a devotee woman, probably of the younger generation, citing these types of verses and challenging the person who was fielding questions, sort of basically kind of saying, no one will ever join your movement if you take this point of view. And she was so fierce with it.
Which point of view, that women should be protected?
Yes,
Should not
yes, absolutely. And because modern woman is, the inalienable right to be rapidly independent. And as Dinesh was pointing out, there's a kind of economic aspect to that. But I think it is actually quite challenging in terms of preaching and how we do get to sort of flush out that particular understanding to modern women.
This is why I emphasize this point, which, of course, because I think about economics, right?
Mm-hmm.
My book, Spiritual Economics.
Mm-hmm.
I understand these things. We have a artificial world right now in which women can do anything a man can, because why? Because she's using money. But in the context that we're reading in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there was not a demonic civilization like that. There was no money, and the women did not have that prerogative, or let's say that advantage that the modern women have.
So yeah, I understand that point. So I'd like to ask you, how do you think, or what would be a good way to present the Vedic theme, as it were, the Vedic understanding to, given that we're in this modern era. So how do you sort of bridge that in terms of preaching?
Like I just explained it. The world is not the same today as it was in these times. And again, the demons, they create a world of sense gratification, and money facilitates that. And so they want unlimited, they want no restriction, as we see more and more today, unfortunately, no restriction of any kind. So we have to understand the context in which these things, these pastimes took place. And if you do that, if you can understand that, anybody, any normal person can understand. You take, you put men and women in a forest, or in a very primitive environment. Men can do things that women can't do physically, and therefore they need protection. But it's only in this artificial world created by the demons that women can be equals to men, in many ways superior. So there's nothing wrong with that for the current times. Okay, let me make that a qualified statement. But these times, they're not going to last. And then what's going to happen? We have to understand in the natural circumstances what the natural order of things are.
In other words, you're saying it's not sustainable, what we have now.
From the context of the civilization you're in.
Right.
Hey, can you hear me? Anybody
Yes.
there?
Loud and clear, Prabhu.
Obeisances to all of you. The offender is about to talk. Is this being recorded? All that?
Yeah, everything recorded.
Okay. I was just thinking on the context.
Just excuse me before you go. Rasangi hasn't had a chance to read. You haven't read. Bavatrini hasn't read. And I think that's it. Yeah, just the three of you have not. And Prairie has not read. So we still have 4 that have not done any reading at all. And we have.
I'm sorry I came on late, but did you have a talk about what happened on Friday at all?
No, we didn't discuss it at all. We're just reading Ramachandra's Leela.
Is there a time set up where we could? Is that a good idea? Offline, no, not streaming it.
I certainly would like to comment about that.
I think we need to clear the air.
Yeah, me too, Gaura.
I think we want to proceed and stay a happy family. So we need to have a family meeting and then go forward from there. So
Okay.
it could be.
We'll stop the reading for tonight then. I'm not sure exactly how to do that so that we can discuss. I don't know how to work everything here.
Can I add on to that last paragraph? Not add on.
About women, you wanted to make a comment.
Yeah. I wanted to see what Prabhupada would do and what did he do about that. Because in hearing Govinda Dasi, sorry, I'm trying to get this view a little open up. Govinda Dasi was, and it's all recorded, it's on tape, how Prabhupada would observe the American culture, and he noticed how women behave, what was there. At one point, he gave Gorsundar Gayatri mantra, and she protested in a very respectful, loving way. I mean, they had great. So Prabhupada changed his thing. He gave Gayatri mantra then to women. I remember in Los Angeles, Prabhupada, there was a group of brahmacharis that were complaining, of course, launching complaints about women. And Prabhupada said, what's the difference? She gets up early in the morning. You get up early in the morning. She goes to Mangalarti, you do. She does services the same as you do. and there is no difference. In Krishna consciousness, there's no difference. Whether you're born in South America and you want to be addressed as a South American devotee, that's a fallacy. Or addressed as an English devotee as your only qualification. And so the same thing with women. If we are Vaishnavas, the gender. I remember Prabhupada at the airport, I think it's Chicago, when he's being interviewed, and he says, he jokes with the interview, and he said, well, you said women are, they have smaller brains, 32 ounces, that's what science says. He said, but when they joined, Prabhupada said, they have 64-ounce brains. And by the way, Prabhupada said, we accept men too. It was a joke. He adopted, Prabhupada changed. He had to fight some of his god brothers. Then what he did, he created ashrams for women. Well, the culture in India was different. Like Dhaneshwar said, we have a totally different culture here. Modern, but Prabhupada adopted without breaking what is correct, and seeing us as living entities rather than women and men. What was it that he told Rani?
She was, I don't remember the whole thing, but she was complaining about, you say women are less intelligent, and he goes, I don't know what she said, and Prabhupada raised one eyebrow and said, oh, so you think you are a woman? Mm-hmm. You're not your body.
I have a similar quote from Ganapati Swami, quoting Jadharani having this conversation with Srila Prabhupada.
Okay.
And Srila Prabhupada, the brahmacharis are saying, because I'm a woman, I can't make any spiritual advancement. And Prabhupada said to her, it's true. As long as you think you're a woman, you can't make any spiritual advancement.
Well, as long as you think that I'm the most senior, I got it, that's it, I'm the oldest, you should listen to me. I'm an American GBC. Those are just titles. I mean, what are the symptoms? What are your actions? That's the most important thing. So in these women, women are different. They cannot lift something, it's too heavy. They're wimp men. There are guys, there are geeks there that with computers, they can lift, a 20-pound dumbbell. So, and there are women out there. I mean, we can study the history. I mean, the shield women of Scandinavia, they could kill as many men as they could. And Kaikeyi wasn't just a charioteer driver; she fought and saved the king's life. And so, guna karma, isn't it? Were we born with qualities? It's about qualities. Daiva Varnashram is about qualities, no gender.
And in the Varnashram system, it says the wife takes on the qualities of her husband. If her husband's a Brahmin, she becomes a Brahmini. If the husband's a Kshatriya, then she becomes a queen. So, right, I forget. Huh?
There are etiquettes. There are certain etiquettes that Vedic culture has that we cannot adopt right away because we don't have it here. And that doesn't mean that devotees could adopt them.
Well, you could say that it's not fair. All the good qualities of a husband come to the wife. If he's doing artik and the wife holds his cloth, she gets the benefit of doing the artik, but she doesn't get his bad. She doesn't, because she's in the position of a dependent. She doesn't get the results of his bad behavior or actions.
And the story of the son of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, when he first invited Lord Chaitanya to have lunch with him, and they made him a whole room, a very special place that he, with an entrance to the outside, so that he didn't have to come and mingle into the household or anything like that, because they were following the strict, both things. One is that they knew he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but also they follow this strict rules of how to deal with the sannyas. And so, yes, there are external rules and regulations that even Lord Chaitanya shows us how to follow. Those etiquettes are there. And in that story, if you know, if you remember, the mother, the daughter of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, her husband, he becomes very critical of Lord Chaitanya. Says all this food for the sannyas, I mean,
Amoga.
Amoga, yes. So the wife, the mother Sati says to the daughter, so then she can divorce the husband. She actually curses him to die. She curses him to die. And then we know the story. Lord Chaitanya runs after him when he's actually dying of, I think it's dysentery or like that, and he rests, or leprosy.
Cut you off, Narahari Prabhu, but Rasangi has expressed your concern to discuss what took place last night. You and
That was it. Sorry, I made it long, but what I'm saying is that those differences are not there when we act as Vaishnavas. Prabhupada never saw them there, and so then we have the whole other thing. It would be a big topic to talk about. It's pretty much talking about Varnashram, how do we structure it? Okay, so that's all.
Remind everyone.
And how Prabhupada saw the ladies and what he did with society that went against the normal so-called Vedic culture in this country.
And I also want to mention, I think we should address Nanda Patni's concern. How do we preach this to modern day women? How do we present these issues and not look like ancient or, you know what I mean, backward?
Right.
We can do that sometime. I think
That's a whole very important topic, and I think we should dedicate time to it.
And then certain things in Prabhupada's books that he wrote that he was instructed to take out. Srila Sridhar mentioned some things about the West that people would not accept, and he suggested certain things. So there's lots to talk about, but I do want to talk about what happened on Friday. I know we've been discussing back and forth. We're not live streaming anymore, right?
I have to stop it now. I was waiting for all the Bhagavatam points to be finished making.
Okay.
I just want to remind everyone that Nanda Patni usually cuts out early. So if you want to include her in this discussion, we have to do it now.
Yeah. And she can be involved if she wants.
The video, so you can say whatever you like.
I just wanted to help us clear the air, and anybody who doesn't want to be
I
here.
think we're still live. Have you stopped it, Gaura?
There's a red line through the video camera.
It
That
still says live here on our screen.
You have to stop.
I've stopped the video.
Recording.
I don't know what that means. Shikarani's not here. Pradyumna's not here. It doesn't, I mean, maybe Prairie is, because she's younger. She's usually, younger devotees are more hip on
You have
tech.
to push the record button and stop recording. Right?
I'm not doing that
I
kind of.
think what you did is all you've done is turn your video off. So you're just turned your camera off, but the recording is still live.
I
So
see. So how do
Recording
I
is
stop live
live
on
on YouTube.
I